by the machination of the present government, the manner in which this bill has been listed today. These are all technicalities parties wanted to do away with or have agreed to with the government. But I would initially express my opinion on that this should not be the practice, no matter whichever party is in government. Here is something which is being done for posterity. New history is being made today. Attempts have been made since 1980 that there is a need to identify the economically weaker section of the society and provide them and support them with affirmative action. Reservation in our country has been nothing new, and as has been rightly mentioned, then since the pact between father of the nation Mahatma Gandhi along with Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, which is normally told as Pune Pact, since that day, the process of affirmative action has come into operation. It was in 1932, pre-independence. I would mention 4 instances where affirmative action, or as we call it, reservation procedure, was incorporated into our constitution and our law-making system to provide adequate support to the weaker section of the society, to the deprived section of the society. Pune Pact of 1932 was specifically keeping aside 148 seats for depressed classes in provincial legislature and 18% of the seats in central legislature. This was the agreement, and that's how the division or the fissure that was being created during that period of time, Gandhiji took up on himself and the then Congress party also. All the leaders were asked to lead movements and to bring in those depressed classes into the main fold. Lot of things happened during that period of time, which is a part of history today. Subsequently, in 1937, seat reservation for the depressed class incorporated into the Government of India Act of 1935. Legislation by the British designed to give Indian provinces greater self-rule and set up a national federal structure that would incorporate the princely states. This act introduced the term scheduled caste. उससे पहले scheduled caste के शब्द ही व्यवहार नहीं हो रहा था, वो रख रहे थे depressed class. 1937 से scheduled caste शब्द आया. In 1942, when large number of leaders were behind bars, but there was a government, war was there, World War, and in 1942, Ambedkar gets the British government to accept his demand for reservation in services and education. ये इतिहास जानने की जरूरत इसलिए है कि ये रिजर्वेशन इन सर्विसेज and reservation in educational institutions started by Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar in 1942 and subsequently 1947 in the Constituent Assembly. A specific provision was made, scheduled caste reservation. In that Constituent Assembly, the representation of scheduled caste was 6.5%. And the Brahmin representation in Constituent Assembly was 45.7%. And a अच्छी किताब भी निकली है कि कौन से मेंबर क्या क्या इशू उठाए कौन से मेंबर क्या क्या अमेंडमेंट दिए at the making of the Constituent Assembly. That makes a very terrific study to find out how the mind was being applied on certain interested groups, for certain interested groups, to bring in the whole society together. And I would say, at that point of time, despite Brahmin representation being 45.7% in the Constituent Assembly, it had. It was in 1980, the Congress in its manifesto had said, we would implement this type of reservation when we come to power. पर ये सारा चीज एक ही स्लोगन में बह गया, a government that works. That was the slogan in 1980. But this commitment, which was given in their manifesto, was lost track of. And subsequently, when Mr. Narasimha Rao became the Prime Minister, that time while implementing the Mandal Commission report, that time he also made a government order which was subsequently challenged in the court of law. I would only mention here that attempts were made by respective government during last, how many years, since 1980? Now we are in 2019, around 39 years. That yes, economically weaker section of the society needs to be identified and they should be provided affirmative support. But today, this government has come out with a constitution amendment. So in that respect, I would say for the first time in our democratic republic today, yes, history,
yes,
economically,
conclude, please. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Economically weaker sections of the citizens are being provided the benefit through affirmative action. Article 15, clause 4 and 5, and Article 16, clause 4 provides reservation for people as per caste. But here, as per their economic status, reservation is going to be provided both in services and also in employment. But the question arises, madam, we have to work further. We have to work further in the sense the economic criteria will not continue as it is today in first week of January 2019 will be the same in 2024 because economic ladder, through the economic progress, a family may progress further. A family may also come down in the economic strata. So what will be the mechanism of identifying, or once one is identified, as it is happens, once one is identified in a caste line, is identified in the caste line because he doesn't change his caste. He cannot change his caste. But in an economic criteria, this needs adequate reformation every 10 years. That is not there in the bill. How you are going to identify, how you are going to delete, it doesn't happen. As we encounter during our constituencies visit, a person who was rich yesterday or 10 years ago was denied a Awas Yojana. But today he has become a pauper. Shouldn't the society and the government provide that much of economic support to that family? That is another issue which is connected with identifying an economic thing. But our party, Biju Janata Dal, is in full support of this. I remember in 1991, when the Mandal Commission issue was going on, that time somebody asked our late lamented leader Biju Patnaik, what is your view on this?